This is the Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, on Alternative Talk, AM 1150. Now, back to the show with local mortgage and finance expert, Tina Mitchell.
Welcome back to the Money Hour with your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, right here on 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, September 26th show. It is always a great day to talk money. That's why I'm here, and that's the purpose of the show, how to make money, save money, build a better quality of life for you, and more importantly, to your family. If you're hearing my show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast to talk with any of the guests that I have in studio, or any questions for myself, any topic suggestions, please call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150, or online at themoneyhour.com. In studio right now, back again, Justin Richards with Keller Williams Realty Bellevue. Important questions that you need to know to ask your realtor before you hire him. And I think this is always a fun thing to know, Justin, in any profession is, what do I ask? How do I find out if they're a good person to be able to represent me? And so I'm excited to have this topic with you. Thank you so much for coming back.
Tina, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
And a little background on Justin. Born and raised in Seattle, Washington, Justin has made residential real estate marketing, acquisition, and resale his professional focus dating back to 2005. With more than 10 years in real estate and proven system for client success, Justin and his team have built a preeminent business practice guiding management and executive level clientele in the Greater Puget Sound through home selling and buying process. His background allows for unique and compelling insight into the real estate process, contract negotiation, and overall community knowledge. Real estate is not a 9-to-5 job. It's 24/7 year-round professional operation that Justin and members of his team run at a very high level. And again, Justin, I'm excited about this topic and on questions to ask your realtor. And I think the first thing, I know I've had a lot of my clients in my mortgage practice that have told me that they are planning on working with a coworker or somebody that goes to their church that's doing this part-time. And I think, oh my gosh, that what should I be thinking, Justin? That's not a good thing, right?
Right. Well, the reality of it is I'll be the first to tell you that there are good part-time real estate agents out there, right? They're rare. I'll be very straightforward. It is rare. And that when you're working with a professional in this industry, especially with arguably the biggest asset that you might ever spend your money on, you want to have somebody that is operating in the business 7 days a week, year round, that understands, the ins and outs of not only, the changes in the marketplace from, the residential level, but working in the finance side of it as well. And so it's not to say that a part-time person may not know that. There are, like I said, there are rare occasions, that they have, corporate opportunities that are a nice fit with the real estate industry. But in the big picture, though, you want somebody that's in it every single day.
I totally agree. You need to be 100% committed to this profession and any profession, really. So what about it? Let's talk about asking their experience, or how many clients that they work with, and what's their capacity? How do they handle more? Can you talk on that a little bit?
Well, one of the most important things is every real estate transaction is different, right? So experience is gained basically in every transaction you do. So it's not to say that a newer agent, might not know a little bit about what they're talking about, but when you talk to a professional in real estate, especially for the residential side, you want somebody that's been around for a while, that has gone through some of the market changes, that can speak fluently on those, and at the same time has also represented both sides of the transaction, right? And real estate agents have a tendency to wear a number of different hats, right? There is a little bit of the sales side of it. There's some hand holding. There's the counseling. There's a lot of that, right? And so, again, every transaction is a little bit different. So I always suggest that when a consumer is looking to hire a broker to either help them with a purchase or a sale, talk to more than one, right? I personally love having the opportunity to be the second or third person in line. It's not to say that I won't take somebody that's come to me and said, wow, I really enjoy working with you, because that certainly happens also.
Yes.
But I also want somebody to understand the value that we bring to the table versus maybe somebody else that they might have interacted with.
Makes total sense.
Right.
sitting down with an agent that doesn't have the same level of commitment and expertise that you do, they will pick up on that pretty quickly.
Right.
Now, and also in number of clients that you've worked with and your experience has a big deal with the rest of the real estate community. They're going to be looking at those offers on the listing side. So your experience in the industry and how many transactions that you've done in the community is really important as well.
Absolutely, right. So coming from a team perspective, right? So I operate a small team here in Bellevue, and we have a number of different agents that are on the team with us at this point in time. And so, they're having different interactions with clients on an everyday basis, right?
Yes.
And some are more experienced than others, frankly. And so, we're able to, if you will, pool that, right? And we can have a very powerful conversation with a consumer that says, when this particular marketplace, Bellevue, Kirkland, Issaquah, whatever it happens to be, that we've sold X number of homes over the last, say, 10 years, well, my career, that's usually the default number, right? And so, we can cover that with a client and say, these are the experiences that we had. This is our market time if it's a sale, for example, or this is what our percentage of list price to sale price was, either good or bad, whatever it happens to be, usually good, right?
Yes.
And so we can have that conversation, with an honest conversation with a consumer, and usually that leaves them feeling very comfortable that we are the right professional for them, because the reality of it is that most agents, I would say, can't provide that because they either A, don't know where to look for it, or they've never thought to look for it.
Yeah, and that's really important too, I think, Justin, what you mentioned on, ask them for their stats, find out, have them provide those numbers to you, so they, you've got that accountability there of exactly what they're doing. That's an awesome idea. And what about their experience in different types of properties, like condos and single family home, commercial, what about that?
Well, I think an agent should ask that, right? Because there are agents that are, let's say, specifically downtown Seattle agents, right? Where they will not cross Lake Washington to Bellevue, right?
Yes.
Or the other way around. You have a Bellevue agent that won't go across the pond to Seattle because they're either not comfortable, or they don't want to deal with traffic, or they don't want it. They just don't know the marketplace in, the condo tower developments downtown.
Completely
different. They're not familiar with that, right? And that's also to say that you have luxury agents on the east side or in Seattle that have a very different way of operating their business, right? And that could be anything. So I always suggest to clients, and I always come right out with this, right? This is my focus, right?
Yes.
And we talk about that. But if, as a consumer, you should be asking, what do you focus on? If you're trying to portray yourself as a luxury broker, but your specialty is, let's say, the $300,000 to $1 million range, you're probably not the right fit for somebody that has a $5 million home to sell.
Exactly.
Right? And
makes sense.
Same goes the other way around too, right? If your focus is luxury, why in the world do you want a $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 listing?
Yes.
Then you start asking questions. Why are you doing this, right?
Yes.
And so it's just one of the questions that's great. I mean, we're only covering I think 10 questions today. When the reality of it is we have a list of 35 or 40 questions that we like to cover with clients when we're meeting with them.
And so if you're listening to this, I mean, there's a whole list of questions that you need. And if you want these, just give the show a call, 1-855-400-1150, or you can call Justin directly. Justin, what's your contact number?
Best way to reach me is 425-765-8088, or through our website at teamrichardsrealty.com.
Perfect. He's got amazing information that he can share with you. Now, let's talk about recommendations or testimonials from clients that they have actually worked with in the past, buying and selling side. Right.
So again, one of the things that's really important in our world is the fact that other people have trusted us to help them invest in real estate, whether it be a true investment property through foreclosure, or it's something where it's their first time purchase. They're selling their home. We want to be able to answer to that experience in that scenario, right? So every time we sell a property, we actually go back to our customer, our client, and ask them for a referral, or I should say a reference in this case, right? To give us raw feedback, right? Tell us how we did, if there's a way that we can improve. Was it a smooth transaction? And it's very, very positive. I can tell you honestly, we have not actually had a bad review in my time frame in the business, right?
Wow.
And so I'm not
all
saying
the business that you do over 10 years, that's amazing.
Well, it's client first, right? I mean, one of the things that's really powerful about Keller Williams is that we have a win-win or no deal way of doing business, right? And so if it's a bad, my moral compass is fairly healthy, and so if it's not a good deal for a client, whether it be buyer or seller, I'm not interested. I don't need to make a bad deal and put myself in, having to call Vincent and talk to an attorney about, a mistake that I made because I skipped my moral ground, right?
Sure.
And so it's very, very important. We've turned clients away in years past that have asked us to maybe go into a gray area that I wasn't comfortable with, or I should say we as the team weren't comfortable with. And so it's important to kind of cover that and not only understand who we are as a team, and where we come from, but also for us to understand you as a buyer or a seller and what's your end goal.
Makes total sense. Now, what about knowledge? In how do you ask the question to find out their knowledge as far as what's happening in the industry? It's a good time to buy, or...
This is probably the most powerful question in real estate, right? Because real estate is one of the highest paying careers that you can get into, but it also has the lowest barrier of entry, right? In order to get your real estate license in Washington State, it's a 90-hour course, and then boom, you take the test, and now you're licensed.
Unbelievable.
And that is, unfortunately, I think, a very bad way of doing things, right? I mean, if you talk to an attorney, Vincent in this case, who's on the show also, he's gone through more schooling than I ever have in my life twice over, right? And he is a very, very good attorney. But I would also say that one of the things that's really powerful about real estate is it's kind of a school of hard knocks, meaning this is where the experience piece is, right? Is that you learn every single transaction, right? On how to better the business, better negotiate with other agents, better negotiate with and for your clients, right? And so from an education standpoint, education is something that we're required to do every 2 years, right? So the state requires us to go through continuing education courses. And so that's the minimum. So we always try to exceed the minimum however we can through other continuing education programs, whether that be national conferences, working with professional business development coaches, real estate professional coaches, things like that make us better in terms of providing great service for you as a client.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what about, I think it would be an important question as far as the process and communication and how they communicate with their clients. Is that true?
Well, communication is key, right? And so one of the things that I've taken over clients, I should say, in years past, where their issue with the broker that they were working with is once the contract was written, they didn't hear from them until they were at closing. And they got a call 3 days before closing, said, hey, guess what? Congratulations, we're almost done.
Yeah.
Boom, done. That's the end of it, right? So I think that, knowing how I was when I bought my first home, I wanted to know what was going on.
Exactly.
Right? And so being able to work with a team of not only from the lender side, the real estate side, the title and escrow side, and then on top of that, there's also the support elements from a transactional level. So we want to make sure that we have constant contact from the time we write the offer to the time that's potentially accepted or declined. And then from there, be able to identify basically a roadmap to closing. Right? So that's really important. And I know we're running out of time, so I'll kind of shore that up a little bit. But it's very powerful to make sure we have good communication at all points in time.
Totally agree with that. And we do have 1 minute before I got to take us to commercial, Justin. Leave my listeners with one more question that they need to ask out of those 35 plus that you have.
One of the things that I always like to touch on, it's always the number one question on a consumer's mind, whether they're buying or selling real estate, is how do real estate fees work?
Yes.
And so that is a loaded question, and Lord knows I can't answer it all right now. So, but from a buyer side, first-time buyers, they don't know. They don't know. Do I have to pay Justin to buy a house? Well, the reality is no. 99.9% of the time, the answer is no.
Yes.
There are certain circumstances, for example, if we go to a foreclosure auction, where the buyer is then responsible for our compensation package, right? And so obviously all of that's discussed right up front, and we come to an agreement on what it is and so on. Same thing goes for the sale side, the listing side, right? And the old rule of thumb, so to speak, is that everything is negotiable, and that's true. And so when you're having a conversation with a real estate professional, make sure that you have a clear understanding of what their value proposition is, right? Because whenever it's been a long, long time since we've ever had a true conversation about, hey, will you reduce your commission?
Yes.
Right? And there are agents out there that are willing to work for less.
Which most of the time, if you're working for less, the service is going to equal.
Get what you pay for. Get what you pay for, right? And so again, having a clear understanding about your value proposition the agent's value proposition is vital to your success on the buyer or seller side.
And I think also on that note as well, finding out and understanding where really that money goes, because I know that most buyers and sellers just think that it is just directly to the realtor, but there's a lot of breaks and splits in that. Also, a lot of cost associated to actually running the business. Justin, thank you so much for coming back into studio and sharing just a few questions to ask. And again, if you want more information, you can always get a hold of Justin through the show, 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150. Or you can go online to themoneyhour.com. You can hear this segment, connect with Justin, hear previous segments that he's had in studio. And thank you again, Justin.
Thanks, Tina. Appreciate it.
Coming up next in the Money Hour, what do you need to know about Medicare right now today? Sandra Early with Mama's Associates right here at 1150 AM KKNW after this short break.